So the materials you need for this project are a piece of paper or a sketchbook, a pencil with an eraser. You're also going to need to have a ruler or some sort of straight edge. If you don't have a ruler at home, you can use the edge of a book. Something that is straight so that you can draw perfect lines with is perfectly fine. Markers or Sharpies of any colors that you want for outlining your words. And then you're also going to want either colored pencils, crayons, other markers, anything that you want to use to color. Get out your sketchbook. This is a place where I always start to write down ideas. What are some things that we would want? Well, we could do our name. So I could do Jessie, Miss Jessie, Baltimore, artist, because I'm an artist. I think I'm gonna go with artist on this one. You need to find the middle of the word. So the exact center, you have 1, 2, 3 on this side, and 1, 2, 3 on this side, which means that the dead center of this word is in between the T and the I. We are not gonna start at the beginning of the word like we normally would. We're gonna start with the middle. Now, since there isn't a letter at the middle, we're gonna start with the letter that's just to the left of the middle. The T needs to go on this side. So like here, and the I is on the other side. Let's see if this is enough space. So I'm just tracing the outside of the T so that the original letter that I drew is right in the middle. So now let me do the same thing with the I, keeping in mind that it's about the same thickness and size as the T. Next is the S. S's can be pretty difficult when you're doing bubble letters. So here is a little trick to making a bubble letter S. You're going to make a curve, and then you're going to mirror that curve underneath. And then on the bottom, you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to connect the inside circle on the left with the outer circle on the bottom, so on the right. So we're going to kind of curve it and connect it to the bottom, trying to make it as smooth as possible. And then you're going to take the left-hand side of the top and connect it to the inside curve on the bottom. And then from then on, you just make a line here connecting these two, and a line up here connecting these two. Now you can see that it's a little bit thinner here, so after you've done that initial, you can kind of go over it and make it a little bit thicker where you want. This is why we use a pencil and not a marker right away. So in our practice, we can see that I kind of the letters got a little bit bigger each time we did it, but we're gonna use our ruler on the main thing to make sure that that doesn't happen. So here we are in a paper. So the very first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna find the center of our paper. Now, if you don't have a ruler, that's perfectly fine. What you can do is you can kind of hamburger fold your paper like this and just crease the top and the bottom part. You're not going to crease the whole thing, so that when you open it up, you'll have a crease up here and a crease down here that you can connect with a straight edge. And draw very lightly, draw a line. Before we just go ahead and write our letter, we're going to make 2 lines that are on the top and on the bottom, right in your letters in between these 2 lines. So we're going to start in the middle and with our T. So I'm going to start over here. And it's going to go over the center line just a smidgen. So now we're going to come over here and we're going to do the I. Now I want this thickness to be the same thickness as our T here, so that all of them look relatively similar. Now I'm going to go on to the S. And if you remember what we did on our sketchbook, I'm going to draw very lightly so that if I need to change something, I can do it relatively easily. Remember, try to make it the same thickness as the I and the T that we did here. So since I kind of know what the T looks like, I'm not going to draw the T first, I'm just going to go for it. So now I'm going to scoot it over and go to the first part. So I'm actually going to start with the bell because I want the same distance between the T and the R. I'm not going to come all the way up to the corner, I'm going to come down just a little bit. And then instead of putting it up like this, I'm going to put it down like that. You want the thicknesses of all of this to be pretty uniform throughout. So another tip, if you have a bell curve like this, you're going to want this to be about the same height as any other bell curve. So instead of coming all the way down here, I'm going to come up here because it's going to be in line with A. You know what? I'm deciding that I'm going to change that a little bit. So I'm just going to erase this part. This is why you sketch. I think that makes the A look a little bit more interesting. And so I want this ledger line here of the A to coincide with the curve of the R. So this R curve is actually going to come down a lot farther. So after you have made your word and you're really happy with it and you think it looks great, you're not going to fill it in yet. We're just going to keep it the way it is. And at the bottom of the page here, draw a little dot. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler or straight edge. Just focus on the bottom part of your word here. You are going to connect all of these corner pieces, that you see, and I'll talk about the curve here in a minute. All these corner pieces, you're going to draw a straight line to this dot. You're going to line up the middle of the dot to the edge of your first corner piece here, and you are going to lightly draw a line. And then after you do that first line, you're going to rotate to this next dot here to connect to the center. And you're going to do the exact same thing for all of the corners. But there's no angle on this side, at least on the bottom part of the S. Find the edge as far out as it goes. So right here is like as far out as it goes. You're going to line that up with the bottom part of your dot. Like that. And then the last two pieces here. I'm going to erase the center line that we drew initially because we don't need it anymore. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So you're going to take the top parts and connect it, but you're not going to do every single part. So as you can see, this, if we would line this up, it goes directly through the A. So we don't really want to do that. We can try to connect with this top part here. Now, instead of drawing it all the way down through the entire word, you're just going to go until you hit another letter. Same for the next. So this one here, you can't really see it because it would go directly through the R. However, you can have a line going from this curve. So much like the S on the outside, you're going to find the point that comes out farthest and line that up with the dot. Now, if we do a line, you can see we're not running into another letter. So we can go ahead and draw the line all the way down. Same thing with the T. So the outer edge of the T here, we're going to connect, draw all the way down to the center. And we have two corners here, but we're not going to draw through this S. We're just going to go from this point to where it hits that S. Now I'm going to put a newspaper underneath of this because I'm using Sharpies and I don't want them to bleed through whatever surface I'm drawing on. So right now I'm just going to outline all of my letters very carefully in this pink. Make sure you're following the actual letter line, not the shadow line. So now I'm going to make all of these lines blue. And I'm going to erase any of the markings that I have from my pencils. So I'm just going to go in and color in all of my rays here. So starting from all of the pieces here, I'm just going to be coloring them in. You can also use multiple colors. You're just going to go back and forth. So this one I started with yellow. So this next one I'm going to do with orange. Now, this next one you can see, I would be coloring this in, however, there is actually not anywhere that this connects to. If I were to color this in, I would have to come out here and color everything else, or stop here, and that would look weird. So, instead of coloring in this tiny little sliver that doesn't really lead to anywhere, I'm going to skip it and move to this one, because this one connects with the T. So that's just something you might have to keep in mind. If you color that in, that's fine, it's just extra color. So now you can kind of look at your whole thing and see if you want to change anything. And what I think I actually might want to do is outline all of my letters in blue. I'm feeling that I want to do that. Yeah. If you want to add an exclamation point, if you want to color the back, feel free to make a bunch of these. Feel free to make one for each member of your family. Put it up on your door, on your wall, on your window. Just have fun and practice, practice, practice. Thanks, y'all.